Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the final session. Take a seat. If you're kind of hovering at the back, please feel free to grab a seat, get comfortable. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sophie Poduval-Morrell, and I am the leader of the largest young professional network in the region, which is Future Faces. So we're going to be talking to all of these fabulous ladies. If I start with you, Ebony, do you want to just introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
So my name's Ebony. My background is mental health. I'm a mental health nurse and also senior manager at Vision for All. We do a lot of community and youth work.
Hi everyone, I'm Freya Dearman. I'm a future trainee solicitor at Silkin, and I'm also Vice President for Future Faces.
Hi everyone, so I'm Nadia Johnstone-Smith and I'm the Financial Advisor and Mortgage Advisor at Quilter Cheviot Financial Planning.
Hello everyone, I'm Ibukun. I'm a brand exec at Tribera, a creative agency, and I also head up events at one of the largest Black women in marketing communities.
Brilliant, thank you so much. So my first question is to Freya. So Freya, I know you're not from the area, you're actually originally from Essex, an Essex girl. And I know that being part of a young professional network, which Future Faces, has been a massive part of your journey. How important has networking been for your career, but also, I guess, your personal life?
Yeah, so it's been massively important. I mean, confidence-wise, I've definitely developed that. I wouldn't be sat here today speaking to all of you lovely people if not. But also like making friends, developing things such as personal brand, which I kind of was unknowingly doing, but through kind of networking and building relationships, I found myself building that. And also kind of it's given me a chance to give back as well. So through building those relationships, I've become kind of quite trusted. So Sophie trusts me to kind of run a working group for Future Faces, to kind of introduce initiatives to improve membership engagement so that I can give back to people that sense of community that I had when I first moved from Essex to Birmingham. So it's been absolutely important. I've made so many friends, but loads of kind of professional connections as well. And I definitely advise anyone that's thinking of kind of networking to really kind of give it a go and get involved.
Brilliant, thank you. My next question is to Ebony. I know that your mental health and well-being is a really big part of what you do. Why is it important for young professionals, especially women, to prioritise their mental health whilst also trying to navigate having a career?
As you said, as young professionals, and especially as women, I think we put a lot of expectations on ourselves. And I think especially for myself, like, you know, I do a lot of mental health and community work, and it's a lot about pouring into others. So I have to make sure that I pour a lot into myself. So I definitely prioritise things like self-care. I mean, schedule time for yourself as much as you schedule meetings. For me, it's fitness, it's spending time with family, even spending time alone. Just making sure I put those things that are important to me into my schedule.
Brilliant, thank you. My next question is for Nadia. So Nadia, I know that sort of financial security is crucial for anyone sort of on their kind of career journey. Often women feel less confident discussing finances. What sort of key financial habits do you recommend for women to develop early in their career?
Yeah, so I think in terms of building financial security, to always start with the end in mind. So what I recommend is getting a piece of paper out and actually laying down all the different financial goals that you'd like to achieve over your lifetime and splitting it into short, medium and long term. And by actually bringing it into existence, writing it on a piece of paper, you've got a starting point to work towards. Another quick top tip is just either print out a recent bank statement or have a look at your latest bank statement online and have a little look and highlight what do you have to pay each month? What are you spending on? Things you don't necessarily need but like to have. So your shopping, your takeaways, things like that. Have a look at how much money you could actually be saving if you've got subscriptions to Netflix you're not watching anymore, Prime, anything like that. we can actually save ourselves quite a lot of money by just looking at what we are actually spending each month. And finally, advisor's top tip, always make sure you've got an emergency fund aside, because the roof's always going to blow off, the car's always going to break down. So make sure there's a little pot aside if anything happens.
Thank you. My next question is for Ibby. So, Ibby, you are a placement student, so you're kind of balancing being a brand exec as well as learning and building your own personal brand. So what advice have you got for any young women who are trying to establish themselves in industry and staying authentic?
I think it all really starts with reflecting and looking inwards and thinking about, what are your values? What are you known for? But then also looking at what you want to be known for, and who do you want to be known to? And then authenticity really comes across in how you show that up. So in a sort of wider scale, sticking to your core beliefs or your perspectives on things, regardless if that's what the status quo is or that's what's trendy right now in the media. But on a smaller level, it's, for example, if I was to do a LinkedIn post after this, I wouldn't say this panel is excellent, not because the panel's not excellent, but I would phrase it as it's absolutely fab, and that's authentic to me. And so the way I communicate that would stay authentic regardless of the platform I'm on, even though this is a quote unquote professional version of me. So I think really sticking to the core things that make you and having a bit of reflection and being comfortable with the idea that what's authentic to you will change as you inevitably grow and change as well.
Thank you. That's so interesting, because it's really easy, isn't it, to be influenced by, I guess, people that we find inspirational or people who we look up to. And it can be really hard as a young woman actually to stay authentic and not, okay, I'm going to try, my thing at the moment is skinny jeans. I thought everybody was wearing skinny jeans, and apparently they're not trendy anymore. I just found that out today. And somebody said to me, it's okay, Sophie, that you don't wear not skinny jeans, because that's, that's part of your kind of, your fashion. So I think it can be really easy, can't it, to look at what everybody else is doing. Sorry to use the skinny jeans.
No, it's fabulous.
So we're going to talk a little bit about overcoming barriers and social mobility. So I'm going to go to Freya. So just as a bit more we were having a conversation earlier about you're currently in the process of doing lots of very stressful exams.
Yeah.
And you're actually going to have to delay your qualification as a lawyer because you've had to do a specific training contract, which now requires you to do 2 years of work experience that you've already done. Can you just explain that to people, that frustration that you're ready to go, but you can't do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of the way of qualifying now in the legal industry is having 2 years work experience and kind of the accompanying qualification alongside it, and kind of having had to have taken every opportunity at university. I was lucky enough to secure work experience post-uni, but kind of all that experience that I've built up kind of amounts to nothing now, because I've not had the kind of monetary funds to kind of fund my own qualification. So I've had to go through a really kind of ruthless process. It took me all of a year to get a training contract and up against thousands of people. And I'm absolutely thrilled that I have now got that. But rather than kind of finishing my qualification and being, a solicitor ready to go, I've kind of got to start again and build up that 2 years of qualifying work experience. So yeah, it's a bit of a grueling process. And I mean, I'm really happy as to how far I've come, but it is very frustrating when you are from kind of a background, I suppose, where you don't have those resources available to you.
And I think you've got a brilliant outlook on it, because for you it's built resilience. For you've got so much experience now, and you could be quite angry and frustrated about it, but you don't have that attitude. Is that a conscious choice? You have to look and see it as a positive thing, or?
I think it's definitely taken time over the years, and I think it's taken a lot of, looking at what I do have and being grateful for what I do have, because, whilst there might be some things that I didn't have, I've got a very loving and supportive family in a lot of other ways. So I think it has taken time to get to that point where I'm not resentful, but I think, and just learning that you do have so many skills that you've built up along the way. So it's never a wasted experience, basically.
Thank you. My next question is for Ebony. So I know that inclusivity is really important to your work. Have you personally ever encountered any challenges as a black woman in leadership? And how do you advocate for more inclusive support in workplaces?
I wouldn't say I've had like a specific moment in work, but I guess there's always that challenge being black and being a female where you're going into spaces and where you're worried that your voice might not be valued or heard or seen.
I know. Sorry to cut you off, but you were on a panel recently, and I know that your colleague was saying that you had an experience where somebody wouldn't talk to you because you weren't senior enough, but you work somewhere where they really champion you, and he just refused to work with them, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just go places, and I think you don't necessarily know why they're being funny with you, but you just have to keep it moving, I guess.
But also how incredible to work somewhere that champions you so much. I mean, there's lots of other companies that will be like, well, unfortunately, we need the money, so I'll just take this over. That must really empower you to think, actually, they've got my back and they really support me.
Yeah, 100%. At Vision for All, we're very much a champion of having a diverse team. So we've got a very diverse team at Vision for All. I just think it's so powerful having people from, different backgrounds, different cultures. And I think lived experience is 100% an asset, not always focusing on people's education and stuff. But I use moments like that to just fuel what I do, basically, just ensuring that I have spaces for people who feel unseen and unheard, and just advocating for them, really.
Brilliant, thank you. My next question is for Nadia. Nadia, traditionally, I guess the financial services is very kind of male dominated. Have you ever experienced anything where you've kind of had any gender related challenges, and how do you navigate them?
Yeah, so I think unfortunately, like many young females in finance, there have been lots of scenarios where you walk into a room and they'll go around shaking all the men's hands and just bypass you as the female advisor. I've had lots of scenarios where I've been called the note taker, even though I'm a fully qualified financial advisor. And unfortunately, people make assumptions based on what you look like. Just because I love a red lip and glitter doesn't mean I'm not amazing at doing the numbers, which I will stand behind. And unfortunately, it says a lot more about those people and their assumptions than it does about me and my abilities. And I think it's trying not to get frustrated and angry about it, and just proving what I can do through action rather than getting annoyed at it because I can't change what they're going to think about me. So it's just being true to myself and doing what I know I can do.
Amazing. And Ibby, I know that you're in work at the moment, but you're also a university student. As kind of that younger generation, do you think that were you kind of worried about going into the workplace as a young woman, or actually your expectation was, no, I'm going to be treated like everybody else?
I don't expect to be treated like everyone else, but I'm quite fortunate in the support system I have around myself. I have an older sister who I have seen gone through work, and she's working and living her life. I've had great mentors that have sort of been there and support me. And I think in the world of social media now, a lot of people are quite vocal about their experiences of work, about their terrible bosses, about the great bosses and all this sort of thing. So I think I came in knowing that there would be challenges for whatever reason, but there would also be great opportunities, and I would have great opportunities to shine and enjoy work like I do now. So, yeah.
And do you think that university students have got an expectation that organisations and companies are going to put things in place to make young people feel welcome in the workplace?
I think there's the desire there and there's the want there, and I think there's a growing expectation that they do that. In reality of whether lots of companies are going to do that, I don't know. But I think that a lot of students are gearing towards and gravitating towards companies that are clearly doing that and are clearly showing that they have an understanding of the differences in generations and differences in cultures, and in expectations around that.
Brilliant, thank you. Now, this is a question to all of you, so whoever wants to jump in first, feel free. But I know all of you have got very demanding careers, but you're also really, really passionate people. How do you balance personal growth and career ambition without burning out? Do you manage that?
I can start. Yeah. I think there are lots of things, but one thing over the last couple of years that's sort of been my lifesaver is every day or every week I sort of set myself like a save the day task, and that's no matter what happens at work, whether I get done my to-do list, whether I don't, I have one task that it's not too much trouble. It usually takes about an hour or so that I can get done, and if I get that save the day task done, my day's been productive enough. And so I close the laptop. Anything else is tomorrow or it's Monday's problem. That's future me to deal with. Just because I think otherwise you can get yourself really wrapped up in trying to meet an imaginary sort of limit or deadline that you just never will reach. And so you need the break. You need the time to step away from the laptop.
I like that. I'm always like a million miles an hour and I've got like 100 things. So I like that. Just what's your key achievement for today? I really like that. Thank you. I will be using that now.
Yeah. Go for it.
I think what I touched on before, just about prioritising that time for yourself, even if you are just sitting there doing nothing, it is productive to your mind. I think also not over-promising, not trying to do too much and go past your limits, because we all have our own personal lives, we have families, we have children, and sometimes that can be carried on to when we are at home and we are getting irritable and snappy, which is something that I've tried not to do recently. But yeah, just really taking that time out for yourself and putting yourself first.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah, just to add to that as well, like reflection on how your week's kind of gone. So I find that most of my weeks are crammed full, but like maybe some weeks, I feel a bit burnt out at the end, and maybe that's because the things that I have crammed in, I've done too much of one thing or tried to go to too many networking events, whereas the following week you might still have the same number of things in, but they might have filled your cup up a little bit more. So kind of figuring out what works for you, because everyone has their own kind of personal limits, personal boundaries, and yeah, kind of reflecting on how that felt so that you don't start the next week thinking, oh gosh, I've got to go to all of these events again. So yeah.
And then my next question is back to Ibby. So just thinking about building personal brand, professional brand. You talk about LinkedIn cringe on your LinkedIn. So how do you help people, or how do you help young women to kind of overcome that LinkedIn cringe?
I think everyone experiences LinkedIn cringe. You go on LinkedIn and then there's always one or two posts that are like, I proposed to my girlfriend, this is what it taught me about B2B sales. And I always just go, I don't want to be on this platform, but you need to be on the platform. And I think you get over LinkedIn cringe, one, by saying, is it being cringe or is it just being vulnerable and is it trying something new? And you ask yourself that. And then I think you get over it a bit by going back to being authentic. You don't have to be the person that starts every post saying, hey, LinkedIn network. If that's not you, don't do that. And I think slowly, whether that's just starting off with commenting and finding out, okay, what does my tone of voice on LinkedIn stand like, look like? What do I enjoy talking about? And you don't have to be everyone to everything. You can really decide, okay, well, on LinkedIn, I only really enjoy these things and that doesn't make me cringe or that doesn't feel too uncomfortable, and sticking with that. And then as time goes on, you sort of grow out and, you take breaks from the platform so that you don't fall into LinkedIn cringe. But yeah, I think you get there.
Has anyone else got any LinkedIn advice they want to offer? No. What is one piece of advice that you wish that you had received when you were first starting out as a young professional?
I think I'd probably start by saying to myself that you kind of already do have the tools to succeed, like caveating that with, always being open to learning and development. But I think I always felt like I had to be someone else. I had to be someone that was kind of a natural leader, or someone that was like the loudest in the room. Whereas my natural strengths were being a listener and being empathetic. And I kind of always thought, because I'm not that person, I'm not going to be a good lawyer, but I'm absolutely fine in one-to-one interactions. And, I do have that ability to listen and draw out the best in other people. So I'm kind of a leader in my own way, I guess. So I think telling myself that you don't have to change or be someone that you're not, be authentic and just build on the strengths that you have. There's always room for improvement, but at the end of the day, we don't need to fundamentally overhaul who we are as people.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm also just going back to the social mobility from your perspective. And I guess people who are listening, just to kind of, when you sort of first started networking, did you ever have any awkward conversations with people that assumed things of you? Oh, you're training to be a lawyer. Oh, you must X, Y, and Z. Have you ever experienced? I know you have. Do you want to share some of those maybe experiences and maybe some advice for people who kind of, are the other person in that conversation?
Yeah. So I think like people would often say to me, so I don't know, maybe I was off the back of a conversation about talking about becoming a lawyer. Maybe I'd say, oh, my mum's going through a bit of a difficult time or something. And I remember this specific conversation, and that person was like, oh, just tell her to have a glass of champagne. And I was just like, I don't think my mum's ever had a glass of champagne in her life. But like, that was me and a thought in my head. And I didn't feel, comfortable to kind of be like, actually, that's probably not the case. But there's lots of little comments, I think, that you kind of get over time like that, that you're a bit like, oh, clearly maybe this industry is not for me, which is not the case. It's just that there's clearly sometimes a lack of awareness that not everyone is from the same background. So I think like definitely I'm trying to be a bit more authentic to myself and maybe like make kind of like a light heart of it and maybe say something like that. Like, yeah, I don't think, I think maybe more of a Malibu. My mum would like more of a Malibu, to be honest, or something just along those lines. Keep it lighthearted, but maybe, remind people that actually, yeah, champagne is not really going around too much in my family.
And has anyone else got any story? I mean, I know that all of you are pretty good at networking and you're all pretty confident networkers. I don't know if that was always necessarily the case. Have any of you had any awkward conversations with people at an event where someone's assumed something of you, which is, totally not true? Nadia's nodding.
So this was only a couple of weeks ago, actually. So
oh no, it wasn't one of my events.
It wasn't.
That's
Don't
okay.
worry. So I'm a very proud Brummie, but I've recently moved to Warsaw. So we were discussing our lives, everything around our business, and I went, "Oh, don't worry, I've just got to go back to Warsaw now. I've got a client." They went, "Oh, I am sorry." And unfortunately, that's not the first person to say that within my industry recently. So I think there is still a bit of a divide of where you come from. And I've also had, my Zoom wasn't moving once I was on mute and someone assumed that I ran a beautician's business. And when I came off on mute and explained, they were like, oh, well, that's just what I thought.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't believe that. Anybody else? Ebony, you were nodding.
I mean, I can't think of a specific time, but I think a bit of a off the topic one, but I think because I work in mental health and what I do, people seem to think I have it all figured out and everything that goes on in my life is perfect, but I go through the motions just like everyone else and I'm still learning like everyone else. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you. And then I'm just conscious of time, so my final question is just, I guess in one sentence, what does International Women's Day mean to you personally?
For me, I think it means progress. And it means just standing in solidarity just with other women, just to continue to fight for our space and our spot and in any room. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, just building on what Ebony said. So I'd probably say providing a platform for women to share their voices, and I think more importantly for that voice to be heard. So, if everyone could take a snippet away, whether that be women being more assured in that their experiences are shared, or that, other people kind of applying that knowledge to their interactions with women going forwards, then Birmingham will be a beautiful place.
Thank you.
I think an opportunity to take a step back and actually acknowledge all the success and everything that we've all built over the last year and moving forward, because I don't think we take an opportunity to actually congratulate ourselves on everything we have done and where we've come from in the first place.
I think for me, a lot of it is also recognizing that, my very existence on this stage, surrounded by all these amazing women, is because of a combination of women who've gone before me, and who've worked and who've strove and gone against the status quo. So I think it's a mark of, gratitude and recognition of that, and then remembrance of, people who are around the world maybe who are, still fighting, still going through stuff that I probably take for granted as well, on top of course, all the amazing things that you guys added along.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions before we finish? No? Great. We answered everything perfectly, guys. We were very clear. Everybody understood everything that we said. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you all for our fabulous guests. Thank you, guys.